That's all good.
All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Brent Lee, managing editor of all things ECC.com. Today, we're broadcasting on our Facebook channel, and present with me and our guest today is Matt Grogan, who's a communications specialist with Las Vegas Fire and Rescue. Does it have EMS in the name, or it's just Fire and Rescue, right?
Yeah, it's just Fire and Rescue.
And if I'm correct, it pretty much does all fire rescue and EMS in Clark County, except for some smaller areas and smaller cities, Henderson, Mesquite, those types of things, right?
Yeah. We handle most. Technically, we're called the Combined Communication Center of Las Vegas Fire and Rescue. We got a thing for really long names. So.
Well, again, I appreciate you being here, Matt. And you really can't talk about Las Vegas without going back a couple of years ago, 2.5 years ago, to the Route91 shooting. Mm-hmm. And we know what a drastic event it was. And we know that there was this major response from all across the valley. Mm-hmm. And, we're here on All Things ECC because it's really about the communication center. And I know that you've given presentations about it, and I'm not asking you to do that now, but can you give us a brief overview of what it was like then, what it's like now, and some of the things that maybe the center's done to help the people there?
Yeah, I think it was one of the shining moments of communications when you look at it. The coordination effort it took. I mean, it was the largest response that Southern Nevada, that probably any department has really seen. When you look at the amount of people that responded, 300 to 400 police officers responded, 160, it's actually 161 exactly firefighters and EMS personnel responded. And then when you look at the private EMS side with AMR, Medic West, Guardian Elite, Community Ambulance, there's another 100, 150 of them. I mean, just the numbers were massive. And the coordination effort it took between the Metropolitan Police Department, our department, Henderson, Nevada Highway Patrol, it was really just a shining moment. But I was to chaos. I mean, it's really what it is. I mean, I teach a class, and it's called Hope in the Midst of Chaos because, I mean, we deal with chaos on an everyday basis, but that just brought it to another level, and we're still dealing with the effects of how that is from a communication standpoint, because it's something that we're hoping that that's always going to be in the back of your mind is something like that ever going to happen again, is that, we're always trying to prepare for those kind of things. And I think it was, and I always talk about it in my class, as one of those things that I really do feel we were prepared for, from a training aspect, from a teamwork aspect, from an infectious behavior aspect. We might have not had the specific policies and protocols when it came to active shooters in place, at least for us at Fire. But I think just between the sheer effort that we had, we were prepared for that kind of thing. And when you asked me about how it is today, we're really, really fortunate at Las Vegas Fire and Rescue to have a very robust, not only a peer support program, but a crisis intervention program. We have a crisis intervention administrator. Her name's Angela Lee, and she does the entire department, but she set up, like I said, a very robust peer support program that has multiple members of our dispatch staff on it. And starting the very next day, I remember I was supposed to work till 10 a.m. that next morning, but I ended up staying a couple extra hours because we started pulling our peer support people off the floor to start making the rounds and making phone calls and start checking on people. And it was just from the get-go that they were really addressing it. We did debriefings that week, and even still to this day, those services are still offered for people to continue to address any needs that they have. And they're even kicking it up again with everything that's going on with the pandemic, because people, between social isolation and just the stress, the everyday stress of what's going on, people are discovering that they need that help again.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because that was the next thing I was going to to ask you about is in light of the pandemic, it certainly has to affect the center.
I mean,
in a lot of the same ways, I would think. I mean, as you said, the isolation, but it had to have changed the call volume. It had to change the types of calls. It had to change how you address your job versus your home life. Here we are, and we call them the first responders, which they truly are. And not only do they have to deal with the issues at home, but they have to deal with it in the workplace, and then they have to deal with it with the responders responding to the pandemic. So, as I think you and I have talked about, the people in the middle, that have to deal with both sides of things.
Yeah, I think it created a unique position for us because, like you just said, not only are we now having to worry about our home life and keeping ourselves personally healthy and our families healthy, but we're now going into centers that we're in close quarters. It's closed. We're around people in just a few feet. I mean, it's extremely hard for most of us to social distance in a 911 center. If you have, Metropolitan Police Department or other departments that have larger centers, you might be able to put a console or two between you, but not every place is like that. And not only were we dealing with people calling in that just really didn't know what was going on, and you could tell the fear. I mean, that was a lot of it is the fear of the unknown, because it's something that you don't know where it's at. You don't know if you have it. And basically everyone for a while, for those first couple of weeks, was every person thought they had it. Every person thought they had COVID, and just kind of dealing with that. But when you talk about also dealing with our personal stuff, the callers, but it really put an emphasis on us taking care of our responders, because if I didn't get the accurate information on a call, as if you had the priority symptoms, if you've had contact with people, if you're on isolation, our responders were really walking in blind, and not only for their safety, but when you look at the preservation and use of personal protective equipment and having to use it on every call versus not every call, I mean, that burden laid on us. And that's fine, and that's what we're used to, and that's what we're here for. But it just was some added stress.
Yeah, I would think very much so. And I guess I'm going to ask, after you get used to all that and things go on, and then the governor decides to shut down basically the state of Nevada. When you shut down gaming, you pretty much shut down about 75% of the state or whatever when it comes to it.
Yeah.
And it's instantly a ghost town. And I mean, did it cut back on things? Did it change things? Did it cause more consternation in the center, or how did it go?
It cut our call volume, at least for us at Fire. Our call volume, I think at its peak, decreased about 20% or so. And you can attribute that a lot of it to the Strip being a ghost town, and just not running calls there anymore. I mean, it was so weird for a couple weeks. I mean, there was 3 or 4 weeks I went without getting a call from one of the hotels, and when you would get a call for the hotel, I remember getting a call from security at Link for someone that needed an ambulance, and I'm like, the link on the Strip? And he's like, yeah. And he just, for a while, you forgot they were even there. And they were just dealing with someone that just happened to be walking by and needed an ambulance. But yeah, it really cut our call volume. Traffic accidents obviously decreased, tenfold. And it was really unique for a long time. Our departments had a hard time. We have a station right on the Strip, and they had to reassign and shuffle things because there wasn't a use for that station, so they just started moving them around different places. So, that was definitely different.
Yeah, and I questioned it because I as an ex-dispatcher and ex-cop, I really wonder how all that affects you, and it has to affect you when you go from, a constant go, which I'm sure Las Vegas was,
Mm-hmm.
to that kind of not dead, that's a bad word, especially in light of what's going on, and my apologies, but to go that slow and to, I guess I describe it from running a race and then all of a sudden you're just sitting around waiting for the starting gun, and how drastically that's got to change your not only emotional looking at things, but your physical attributes. As a cop or a dispatcher, you get a hot call, you pump, and then to instantly just basically sit around for a while just really made me wonder what's up.
It was nice at first, because we're so busy. I mean, it's I've worked in large high volume centers my entire career, but it's just incredibly busy here. Between having Las Vegas area has generally anywhere from 2 to 3 million people. I would argue it's closer to the 3, but we average 47 million tourists a year. So I mean that's incredible amount of people, and just the call volume that presents itself out of there, and to get that break for a little bit was nice. But then you get anxious because you're like, let's just kind of get going again. And then we were just talking about it the other day because it's starting to pick up, obviously, with the casinos opening up again, and life slowly starting to get back to that clip that we were used to. It's almost kind of like we had to get back to that playing weight, where you had to get back into shape for dealing with that level of work and that busyness. And I remember having one of the busier weeks I've had in a long time this past week, and you walked out for lunch, you're like, what just happened? Like, where did all that work come from? Like, everybody, let's settle down. I know we got cabin fever and we all want to get out and want to have fun, but let's dial it down. But it's you just having to get back to being used to that.
True. Last but not least, we're at a time of major social unrest across this country, and we talked about a little bit before we went live that the dispatcher, the telecommunicator, whatever name gets put on the people that sit behind the console, are really responsible to both sides. There's people that are on the side of the police, the side of the people, and everybody has an opinion. But the true first responder is responsible to both, right? I mean, they take the calls from the public. They have to be there for them, be the calm in the storm. And the same thing for the officer on the street. And having the benefit of being on both sides, I know what it's like to be on the street and hear that calm voice taking care of you when you're in trouble. And so it's really, and I think you said earlier and expound on a little bit, that you pretty much can't pick a side or have an opinion. You just do your job. And truly that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's it is, because we're taking the calls, and it's not like we get to decide to filter what comes into me. When I pick up that phone, and that's part of the reason that I love this this profession, this job, is when I answer it, I have zero idea what's on the other end, and when officers and responders key up, I have no idea what they're going to say, and just you have to be ready for anything that comes in and at you, and just being that good, bad. I anytime I deal with police related calls, and it doesn't even just necessarily need to be police related calls, is, hey, look, I'm the neutral party here. I'm not here to get you in trouble or anything like that. I just need the information. I'm just going to get you whatever you're looking for, good, bad, or indifferent. And that's what we just are doing. And if I've taken calls from protesters this week, we've dealt with obviously with Officer Shea getting shot this week, having to care for that, and the traumatic experience that was for dispatchers and responders alike. I mean, if you think obviously his brothers and sisters at Metropolitan Police are affected, I mean, those dispatchers that are handling that radio traffic are affected. My partners at Las Vegas Fire, who have to send the ambulances, and hearing that it's an officer that's injured. I mean, anytime we hear that, I mean, that's always traumatic. And we talked about, when we were talking, we're just this faceless, nameless voice that's on the other end of the line that just, we're not there to judge. We're not there to do anything. We're just there to get you help. That's our one sole mission is to get you help wherever it's at. And we'll deal with that other stuff later. And I think that's one of the things that's really awesome for us is, I don't care what happened. Just let's get you some help, and we'll deal with all the other stuff later. And I think that's what makes this job and 911 dispatchers just really amazing, because it just, I mean, we're the first responder, and to be the first person on scene, audibly, mentally, trying to put it there and just get the right people there. I mean, it's just an awesome responsibility.
And I agree. And like I said, I've been on both sides of it. And I mentioned I started as a dispatcher.
I think we lost your audio there.
Okay, you might have, but I think hopefully it's still live. It looks a little
still
delayed.
Not. At least I'm not hearing you.
Oh, okay. Well, unfortunately, that happened. I'm hoping it's still recording. Okay. Well, hang on a minute. We'll go ahead and close it. I appreciate you
grand.
Here.
I can't hear you.
Okay. Sorry. Well, hopefully other people can. We'll go ahead and end the session. And again, thank you.